Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Beaufort County Transportation Committee meeting of March the 19th, 2025. We have roll call, please.
Chairman Gordon,
Here.
Vice Chair Hammond,
Here.
Jim Backer,
Here.
Clarence Daniel,
Here.
Craig Forrest,
He's excused.
John Glover,
Here.
David Johnson,
Here.
Jenny Kozak just joined us online, Paul Manning,
Here.
Timothy Newman,
Here.
and Charles Perry.
Here.
We have four.
Thank you. We customarily go around the room and have the audience introduce themselves. Chris, we'll start with you and go around the room.
I am Chris DeJulio Cook, I'm the business manager in the Beaufort County Engineering Department.
Andrea Tabernet, District 6, County Council Member, Vice Chair.
And our liaison.
And your liaison, please. Yes.
Hannah Nichols, Beaufort County Public Information Officer.
Rusty Bratz, Beaufort County Engineering Project Manager.
Pamela Bernard, Project Manager, Beaufort County Engineering.
Libby Gordon, an interested Beaufort County citizen.
Stephanie Rossi, Planning Director, LCOG.
Tracy Bruton, RCE for SCDOT, Beaufort Jasper Construction.
Mike Healy, SCDOT, Beaufort Maintenance, Army.
Ma'am?
Robin Steplight, new to Beaufort County citizen.
Thank you. Please rise. We're going to have a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have our first public comment period. We're here for anybody to address the committee on any of the agenda items only. Seeing none, we'll move on. I'd like to have approval of minutes for the January 15, 2025. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, Tracy, you're up first. Old business and new business, SCDOT update.
Chairman, good evening, Chairman, Commission. Nothing for old business. You can just go to.
Apologize for having some
Oh, that's okay.
difficulties. That's why I will
No
be
problem.
with you momentarily.
Take your time.
Why don't you just go ahead?
Sure.
We have our slides.
Okay. All right. The first one is going to be the contract by Blythe, which is Lands End Road.
There we go.
Blythe has completed their part. This contract is in two pieces, one by Blythe, the other one by APAC. The only thing left for the contract to do is the thermo and the milled in rumble strips. Next slide. Island Causeway, this is another one that was in two parts, one part by Blythe, the other one by APAC. This is the Blythe portion. They actually completed this towards the end of last year. Next slide. This is the one for the peak district-wide pavement markings. They completed everything in all 6 counties, all 6 areas. Chairman, this is the additional that we talked about. We worked with maintenance, and with you on one of those additional areas. Peak has been working, doing it at night because of the heavy traffic. So the safest way is to do it at nighttime. So they have one more night. They should be done at 0200 tomorrow morning, and then this will complete all that work. We had additional monies, so that's why we were able to do this additional work.
It was good that you and maintenance were able to work together with Mike.
Yeah,
to be
with
able to get
Mike
that
Healy.
accomplished.
Next slide. Charleston Highway, this is a full depth patch, mill and fill. If you go out there now, part of it that they have done going across the bridge, it looks really good what they've done. But what I've done is APAC has, and this is the APAC job, in order to be able to focus on Land's End, they need about 3 weeks to kind of shutter the rest of doing Charleston Highway. And when I get to the Land's End piece of what they're doing, I'll explain it. So right now, they're just shuttering for about 3 weeks so they can focus on finishing the part on Land's End. So that way, when they're done, it'll tie back into what Blythe has done, and then we could do the rideability to see how it rides. Next slide. Land's End, the APAC portion. Internally, APAC has made some changes, and they brought on a new ops manager. And so what he's doing, because when we rode out there with the leveling that was done, it didn't ride quite well. So instead of having them rip everything out, they're gonna go back and mill it, and then do some leveling, and then come back next week and do the surface. This week, 2 to 3 days of pre-milling. Next week, they're gonna do their surface, and then we'll ride and see how it rides from their portion over to what Blythe has done. But they're still on track. The overall completion of this work is supposed to be September 30th of this year. So at the end of the day, one of the things I told them is that we want to be able to provide a quality product to the public. Next slide, please. Island Causeway, this is the other part of APAC that ties into Blythe. This one is actually completed. They're going to be doing hydro seeding tomorrow, and that should finish this project out. Next slide, please. Traffic signals, this is with WM Roebuck. The anticipated start with them is going to be May of this year. And so hopefully the next committee meeting, I'll have some updates from you on them, depending on when they actually start.
What's interesting is the rebuilds that they're doing and how they're adding on pedestrian controls to some of these signals as well.
That's right.
Upgrading them.
That's correct. Next slide, please. And this is a new one that I just added, just talking to the chairman. I'm going to break, on the next slide, I'm going to break it out to individuals so that way you can actually see what's going on each one. This is a Beaufort Jasper rehab project. The only thing I've actually captured, oh, next slide, I'm sorry. Go back one, please. Is only for the Beaufort County. There was a total of 9 roads, 5 of those being for Jasper County. The 4 you see actually would impact us, which is for Beaufort. It's a total of about 18.25 miles of road. For Beaufort, it's about 7.57. We did the pre-con meeting and issued NTP the same date, January 28th. They're already working on a lot of these roads, like Detour Road, they're working on it. We had to stop a little bit. There was a little situation where we're gonna have blue lights come out there and work with the contractor. Situation with guns and things like that being right near the school. So in order to keep everybody safe, and that's our main thing, to be safe, but get the job done too, we'll do about 2 weeks to have blue lights there behind them while they're actually working to make sure they're safe. Next slide. And these are the 4 areas that I'm talking about. Next time I come, I'll break them out each individually, have some notes on there, so you can see it a little bit better, but these are the 4 that I'm talking about.
You can see that's gonna be creating some havoc with US 278.
That's correct.
It's
And the good
it's gonna
thing
be
is,
an interesting project.
yep, and because there's some provisions there for lane closure on 278, Sunday through Saturday from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., they're not able to do that work out there. As you know, it's highly congested. But for the Fording Island Road, they're gonna be doing an 8-inch full depth patch with a mill and fill and come back with surface. Castle Hall Road, they're gonna do a full depth patching out there, 2-foot widening and come back with surface. Detour Road, I was out there checking it out. They're not doing any widening. If you've ever gone out there, it's pretty narrow in terms of to the streets. But the other part of it, part 1, they're not widening The second part, they are gonna widen, 2-foot widening, and it's gonna be CMRB, and they'll come back with surface. And then for First Boulevard and Spanish Point, they're gonna do a 8-inch on the first part, full depth patch, 1-inch mill. On the second part, they're gonna come back with 8-inch full depth patch with a 1.5 mil. And on the third section, they're gonna do a little bit of spot leveling with 8-inch full depth patch, and then come back overall sections with surface seed.
Excuse me. The Fording Island part, that's from Moss Creek to, am I right on that? Moss Creek to, am I looking at this right? The
Yes.
Fording Island piece starts at,
Looks just
so
short of
number
Moss
6
Creek.
is Moss Creek?
That's
and
correct.
1 is where? I couldn't see it. Anyway, it's
Looks
not,
like the roundabout 17.
Yep, right around 17 to Moss Creek.
okay, thank you.
Correct. But the next time when I have it, it'll be a little bit more blown up to where you can kind of
All right.
see a
Got
little
it.
bit more in detail. One of the things I mentioned to the chairman that I'm going to do is, one of the last slides I'll have is a little bit more of a summary that'll break out each of the contracts that you see.
Mm-hmm.
I'll list some of the roads that pertain to that for Beaufort County. I'll have what the contract amount is, percent complete by the contractor in terms of the actual project, and whether it's state-funded, CTC funded, or federal.
Correct.
So that way, to give you a little bit more, as we go through the slides, you kind of lose some as you get to the end, but I'll have more of a summary in the back. So that way, I think it's the real piece that you really look at, so.
Thank you.
This was, I believe he said, was $70 million worth of work. Yes,
Correct. Yeah, the overall for that contract is about $18 million, but for the Beaufort County is a little bit less than that, because we only have the 4 roads and Jasper has the other 5.
Yes, Clarence.
Tracy, so you said with Detour Road, they're not gonna widen with all them buses coming through there?
Yeah.
The road is kinda narrow, huh?
Right. The only part they're doing is that first part, is there's not gonna be any widening, but the part from the school going out to the end where it hits the main line, they're gonna do a 2-foot widening out there, which they've already widened it already by 2 foot.
Yeah, I kinda was
So-
looking at that.
So with the way they're widening, I guess it's just gonna match back up with the part that they're not widening,
Okay,
so.
okay. Thank you.
But yeah, you're right, it is pretty narrow.
Any other questions? We appreciate your update.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. Rusty? We'll start with dirt roads.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
How you doing?
All right, Dirt Road 55, Dolphin Watch. The engineers are working through the comments. The DOT the permits have been received. Final plans completion, this was last week, so it's about a week away. We should have the final plans. And Hires is going to start the erosion control about April 1st to get that timeframe, get that started. Leo Green, engineers finishing up the plans as well. They'll call for utility coordination this week. Davis and Floyd is working on the tree plan. And DOT permit has been received on that one as well. James D. Washington will be the third one after that. We also have the permit there, and engineers are working on some comments from the NOI from DHEC. Yes, sir, it's on the list. We're gonna do it, and it's probably gonna be the end of summer.
Probably.
I hope I just didn't jump in on your question, but
You're right on it.
that's it?
You're right on it.
Okay, yes, sir, it's gonna be done.
Because, they was, if you look at last year,
Yep,
they were talking about December.
right. I had a call today from Mr. Jenkins asking about it too, so,
Okay.
yes, sir, we're online to get her done.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move down.
I do have a question. On the dirt roads, what's the procedure now to put in if we have a dirt road that wants to be paved? I mean, what is the procedure?
Well, it's gonna start with getting right-of-way from all the owners. If it's a dirt road, or is it a county road or is it a private road?
No, it's a county road.
Is it a county road?
Okay.
Well, then, that's gonna be part of the recommendations when we,
I mean, to get,
No, I think I understand where you're headed with the question.
go ahead.
If you recall, engineering did a 5-year plan for dirt roads. And each of those, project 54, 55, I think it stops at 58, I think was the 5-year plan which you're working for. And it's fund controlled. So the roads that are downwind, we can bring, and I'll ask you to do that at the next meeting, bring 56, 57, and 58. I know that it was all total of 5 years and where that
Okay.
5 years started, but it runs over a 5-year period. So they had done a complete analysis of all the dirt roads that are left. There's only like 65 miles of dirt road, 66 miles of dirt road left in Beaufort County. And if my memory serves me correctly, 54 miles of it have issues, meaning people don't want to give the right of way for the remaining dirt roads. I think there's only probably no more than 12 or 14 miles of dirt roads that the county can even take action on and pave. So is that kind of where you were headed with your question?
Well, I mean, you clarified some of it, but I have turned in, an authorization for those dirt roads. I mean, people have signed and says, hey, I want my dirt road paved.
I think that's what I asked for. We'll get the out years to look at. And it's, basically, it's fund-driven. They're using, they use the tag funds to fund this. And if my memory serves me correctly, tag funds generate about $1.5 million a year, 2 million. And when you look at it, it costs about $1.25 million to pave 2 lanes of dirt road. So you're getting about a mile a year when the funds are available. That's how it's limited. So they're spending the tag funds on it.
Because I turned in the right of way to Patty, that's Patty, right? And she's getting ready to retire, right?
Yeah.
And the way she told me is like, and I didn't really understand that. I was waiting for Brian to talk to Brian. She said like, we don't need to use the right of way anymore. That's what she kind of like explained to me, and I'm like, wait, no, this don't sound right.
That doesn't sound right.
No, it didn't. So I don't know if she's in that retirement mode or what, you know. Hey, I'm telling the truth now. You know, that's the thing. So I was waiting on Brian to talk to Brian, because I turned in for Old Bailey Circle. I got the right of way from all the customers that's on that road. And so,
We'll have at our next meeting, the out years
Yep.
of the program, and looking at what we can do and what we can't do.
okay.
All right.
I made a note to sure that's on the agenda for next time.
Because I went through the same thing, and I was told the same thing.
So she's a short timer.
We'll just have to find a way to keep her.
Okay.
We'll take care of it.
All right.
We're up to number C.
Year 8 resurfacing and preservation, it's out for bid right now. Bids are due March 25th. I just put a note down there that's approximately 8.6 miles of Beaufort County Road and 3.78 miles of DOT roads that we're doing that in that year, or this year.
You can see the roads listed on the next slide.
Those are actually rejuvenator roads. I can bring a list next time if you want a list of those
Yep,
roads.
please do.
Okay. And
It also helps to show the programming to follow as they're being accomplished, so.
Sure. All right, and then, next slide is, anybody questions on that? All right. And then,
The Rejuvenator,
rejuvenator, yep.
how many miles all total is the Rejuvenator?
You know, I had a note on the bottom, I wanna say it's 24 miles, I think, something like that.
It was quite a number of
Yeah,
miles.
24 miles. I had it written on my old one, and I reprinted them. It's right around 24 miles.
It's touching a bunch of roads.
Yeah.
We have done listings, and I've asked Brian to keep a running total of the miles of roads we've touched. And we're approaching 150 miles of roads we've touched in Beaufort County in the last 7 years. So a lot to be said for that.
And these roads include the roads we did the last 2 years, and then every 5 years, we're gonna rejuvenate.
Right.
From that, after the first 2 years.
Thank you so much.
very
Any
welcome.
questions for Rusty? All right, moving along, let's go to item E. Good seeing you, Jared.
Yes, absolutely. Great seeing you, Chair and committee. So not a whole lot to update on Triangle, on the SC 170 Triangle. Hopefully everybody's driven through there and seen our signs, our cantilever signs, both off exiting 278, getting onto the ramp. So just a PSA announcement, there are 2 lanes so you can exit off of that. And there's 2 lanes all the way down that ramp, and then you can decide whether you're going north or south on 170. And the same thing, PSA announcement, if you're driving southbound on 170, that cantilever there right past Zaxby's lets you know, go ahead and get in that right lane. As soon as you pass Okeetee's Drive North, I believe is the name of the road, then that is free flow lane. Only time you have to stop is when we have a left turn going northbound on 170 trying to get westbound on 278. So all in all, what we are doing, Brian's working to collect some data from pre and post so we can really show the difference. I think we all drive it and feel the difference. That's been our best short-term project that we've been able to accomplish here recently to date. And so glad that CTC and the county and everybody was involved in that project. So as far as the rest of the triangle, the only thing that I can offer as an update is the county, Beaufort County sales tax failed, as we're all aware, in November, but Jasper County's passed. And together we were going to attack the triangle as a group project. Now that we only have one side of the funds and not both sides, part of their program had for Argent Boulevard, I believe it was $50-some million for Argent Boulevard. And then we were going to have the other kind of 2 quadrants, 2 roads in our program together. They are making plans. They have a committee inside of their sales tax, and that committee is prioritizing the expenditure of those funds, and Argent Boulevard is being discussed and to move that forward. Their discussion point that they have to decide is whether to federalize it or not. And if they federalize it, then that's going through the process and utilizing LATs and then going through DOT through a lengthier process. But it doesn't necessarily mean there will be more funds, but it creates the opportunity to raise your hand for more federal funds. If they do not do that, and you've kind of got to decide at the beginning, then it will be local funds, and the only funds that would go towards Argent Boulevard would be what Jasper County sales tax funded. So
I think you, because Jasper County is still considered rural, it kind of moves them up on the list to be able to maybe get federal funds. Am I not correct?
it does help in certain grant opportunities. So that's a measure. They're going to save a little bit in time and just having it as local funding, but they're going to have, if they need more funding, they're going to have less opportunity to obtain more funding if they don't preserve the opportunity to have it federalized. So that's what they're contemplating right now.
Would that mean if they federalize it, Jared, would that mean that they could they go to the other parts that Beaufort County was gonna do? They own like the north of that road, right?
So they're pretty much Jasper County, Hardyville is all of Argent Boulevard, and then 170 is the county line. And Stephanie can probably answer this better than I can. So what was conceived in the transportation plan with LATS is the triangle as a unit project. And so that we would do the design and the planning for all of it. If they decide to go a different route, then that, as it's conceived, will have to be updated and it will have to be segmented. Now, could they do them all at the same time? Potentially, but once they segment it, then it's probably going to be individual projects.
But my question was, and maybe you answered, but I didn't understand. They've got Argent Boulevard. Could they, if they got federal funds, could they do some of the other parts of the triangle?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
They're not dependent on Beaufort County.
The only thing that's dependent is when you're prioritizing federal funds, you've got to have reasonable availability of funds of the next phase of whatever the project is. And so if they want to do the 170 leg of that, and they do 2 out of 3 legs, they would need to have the full measure to do that.
Thanks.
Yep.
Jared?
Yes, sir.
When you come off 170 where it's not the light,
Mhm.
you're coming off onto 170, you got the stop sign, you gotta take the left, or you've got a yield sign. Was there any, there isn't any merge going on there? That's
You're talking about, describe where you are, exactly where on 170?
Coming off on Fording Island, headed towards, you, in direction to Hilton Head.
Okay, yep.
And so you come off the right side
Mm-hmm,
onto 170, you got the stop sign where you gotta take the
Yep.
kind of dangerous left.
yep.
But then on the right, you've got a yield, but there's no space there.
Yeah, so it's not a yield and
couldn't-
acceleration lane, it's just a,
Right. It's
Kinda-
just it's kind of like a stop sign.
that's right, yeah. No, I
I learned
understand.
that the hard way.
There was some discussions at looking at some other improvements, there. But that was more than the project could bear cost-wise, so
Is
that,
the land available there to do that?
well, all that's within the right-of-way, so all that in the ramp area is DOT right-of-way. So if there was a future project, right-of-way more than likely would not be the issue if there was a intersection improvement there.
And then we were gonna do where you go down and do the loop and come, is that still?
Well, so you
that's-
do have, if you take a right from where you're just talking about
Right.
and you head south on 170, and coming out of Oakety Boulevard South where the food line comes to 170,
Right.
you have to turn right now and then you go down and you make the U-turn. So, if you're at that stop sign and you don't feel comfortable making the left to go north, you can take the right and then go down the road and make that U-turn to head back
Okay,
in that direction.
thank you.
Any other questions? All right, you're dialed up for the next item too.
All right. The next item, Hilton Head Bridge update. So this one is actually, has a decent update to provide. Every 2 months, you never know where the project is to give you guys an update. But this one is actually in a pretty good location, at least I think so. Is what's transpired over the last couple months is essentially we had a response that's due back to the state by March 31st, so coming very closely. And we have a $190 million shortfall, and what were we going to do with that project? So the discussion has been, there hasn't been an appetite at local, either the county or the town, to find the funding outside of sales tax. And so what could we get done with the $300 million that we do have? And so there's been a lot of discussion at county council and town council to develop that plan with the help of our state delegation and DOT. And we have developed and agreed on a plan, we being the county and town in a joint resolution, agreed on a redefined, scaled-down project that we are petitioning back to the state and saying we would like to keep all of the $300 million, the $120 million grant from the state, DOT funds, and the county funds to deliver this scaled-down version of a project. It's not the full 6-lane bridge that we had envisioned, but it does address a lot of the concerns, specifically with the state of the one span that's in poor shape going across on the eastbound 278. So the redefined project is a 3-lane eastbound bridge that goes from mainland all the way directly to Jenkins Island. And then at the end, and essentially it's a bridge replacement going on the eastbound lanes. It will be sized for 3 lanes, but once it's constructed, because we won't have enough money to do the road portion, it will be striped as 2 lanes. If there's a future road project, then it would be ready to receive 3 lanes. We don't have to build it. The bridge is designed for a 75-year lifespan, so that's the thought of build for tomorrow and with the funds that you have today. So that is being submitted. We have a meeting next week with the State Infrastructure Bank, the county does, and the town, and DOT to talk about our proposed plan, and then we will make an official submittal of that plan to them. At that point, it will be the State Infrastructure Bank's response, yes or no to our proposed plan. If it's a yes vote from them, we have the project funding intact, then we say, DOT, please move forward with the project. This is the project. And they'll get going. If it's a no vote or something less than the $120 million and we don't have that $300 million, It'll have to come back to county council and town council to decide, and/or it may turn in directly to a DOT-led project to replace the one single span by itself without a bigger project. So that's where we are. Like I said, mostly positive, at least locally, we're in agreement. Now we've got to go make the ask to the state.
Questions?
I'm missing Craig. Craig usually has a question on it.
Very good. Thanks so much.
And I have one other thing to offer if you bear with me, we had a council workshop yesterday, county council. The discussion focused around transportation primarily, and then some other things. The first was the 2018 sales tax. Just like the bridge has more project than it has money, so do the other two projects that were in the program. And what can we do to bring those projects to resolution? So there was discussion focused around that. I encourage you, if you want to, there's information that we shared as far as the details of our expenditures to date, as well as a recording of that if you're interested. And then secondly, once we finish those projects, what is next in front of county council and Beaufort County as a whole? We know we still have road issues, and we have some other outstanding facility needs, and that was taken up. There'll be some more discussion around that. But as far as transportation, those were kind of the two components. How do we wrap up that sales tax, and what do we need looking ahead? So
That sales tax is targeted for 2026 or 2028?
well, what would be a future sales tax? The earliest would be
Referendum.
26, so it would be the available opportunity, and that was where the discussion kind of, we had discussion, there's interest, what it is, when it is still to be determined.
Would it be possible that the remainder of what would need to be done on the bridges and on the corridor project be lumped into the 2026?
It could be looked at. So the way the bridge is set up now is essentially a phased project. At the end of the day, the 6 lanes, all the data that we have through the last 8 years on the 278 project isn't wasted data. We still need 6 lanes regardless. And we only have enough money to build 3 lanes. So that could be a proposed project in a future sales tax. Not guaranteed, but it could be.
It would make sense for that to happen. And we've openly had this conversation before. The sales tax, I think, had too many unknowns on it. Pots of money set aside without really projects being defined. I think the community would be more willing to address the needs of funding the rest of 3 more lanes for the bridge and more clearly defined projects. But that's what needs to happen between the council needs to decide along with the committee that was formed to look into this.
Well, only thing I offer to you guys is y'all are a very educated group. Community needs as far as transportation. So y'all work at the pleasure of the council. So if you have thoughts, they're in listening mode right now. So
One more question. Are you still looking at 2027, late 2027 for bid date?
that's right. Yeah. So with the repackaged plan, the goal is to have a project out to bid on the 278 at the end of 2027. Yes.
Further questions? Thank you much, Jared.
All right.
Rusty, you're running pinch hit for Brian, I see.
All right. The 500 2000 ADT program, AMT has completed and provided us with the year 2 500 ADT, 500 to 2000 ADT. That would be the year, and the SC year 4 0 to 500 ADT. We have the plans, but we're waiting on the report from AMT to review and discuss those with DOT to make sure we can continue on with that. And these will be part of the year 9 Beaufort County resurfacing program.
To help you everybody put that into perspective. What we've done is we had our first 5-year plan, we put our second 5-year plan in place. In year 9, it was decided that we would go back and relook our roads again. That's been our plans for some time. That way, we're able to go back and look at what we've accomplished, not only what we've accomplished, but the things that have really worked well, the things that haven't worked well, and by doing that, we're going to be able to come up with our next 5-year program. So we'll have years 10 through 15. But tied into that is because we started the 500 to 2,000 ADT at a different time and the 0 to 500 ADT at different times, we're going to try to get these all merged together in year 9 so that they're running on the same time schedule rather than running it at different time schedules. So it'll solve problems in bidding, it'll solve problems of when the work is out. It just makes the whole performance much cleaner, and it'll be better for us to be able to manage the projects and see where we're going in the future. So that's kind of the template we're trying to work through.
And I put a side note there that we have the new pavement evaluation. That request is up for solicitation, has been published, and that closes on April 8th for the upcoming year's survey.
We will be putting a committee together to do the review when that comes in. Any questions? Okay. Last item, Bluffton Parkway and 278.
US 278 resurfacing, County Council's approved the resurfacing at the last meeting. We're waiting on an executed contract in order to get the PO. Expected start date soon after we get the PO.
This will help tie into what Tracy's been working on in 278.
Yep.
We're trying to close the gap from both ends and trying to get 278 resurfaced.
Yep. And in Bluffton Parkway, same thing. County Council's approved that resurfacing at the last meeting. We're waiting on the executed contract, and that will come right after 278.
Okay, any questions? Thank you, Rusty.
Sure, thank you.
New business. I asked Stephanie to come to today's meeting. She has a wealth of knowledge and wealth of what's going on and what LATS is doing and how LATS has programs going on that interface with us. And I thought it would be beneficial to have just a bit of oversight as to what she's doing and how it ties into roads that we have in Beaufort County and how it fits in the LATS structure overall. So this is kind of an introduction to COG 101.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I have a lot of words on these slides, and I promise, you can go to the next one, promise not to read them all. The Metropolitan Planning Organization, or LATS, is responsible for planning for the federal dollars that come to our region. And one of our core products is doing a long-range transportation plan. And that is a 20-year look or blueprint, transportation blueprint for our region. We last updated it in 2022. And then once that long-range transportation plan is completed, it's updated every 5 years. It's amended or corrected here and there, but for the most part, we're about to launch into updating in our next one that would be due in 2027. It's about a 1.5-year process to go through that. It's not something we do real quickly. There's a lot of public involvement, data involved, and a lot of input from our stakeholders. So once we have that long-range transportation plan, we want to program those high-priority ranked projects through the very limited federal transportation dollars that we receive through LATS. We receive $8.5 million annually. That money can build up. It's not something that we use or lose within 1 year. We can kind of roll it into the next year if we want to use it towards a larger project per se. For example, US 17 was a project funded between LCOG and LATS, when that was a collaborative effort of saving up several years worth of these dollars that were coming in. In fact, we actually borrowed ahead a little bit. We've come out of that payback as of 2 years ago, and we now have funding available, so we have more projects that we've been funding, because US 17 really dominated the federal dollars that we had.
That was $56 million, wasn't it?
Yeah, something around that. Ginny probably could speak up to
Yes.
that. So the Transportation Improvement Program is once we have that
I
long
was
range.
gonna say, it started out at 9 million.
Projects that cost inflated. So once we have that long-range transportation plan, we start trying to program these dollars into what's called a Transportation Improvement Program, and usually we just say TIP. And the TIP is a short-term programming document once you actually have dollars assigned to a project that you're gonna start funding. The plan itself is great, but it's visionary until you actually apply dollars to it. So you can go to the next slide. This is a list of the current 14 projects that we have started programming with the LATS federal dollars that have been coming in. We have a few, these are kind of organized by location, but US 321 and SC 46, we had identified preliminary engineering to, for intersection improvements, and that's in Jasper County. US 17 to John Smith, an access management project in Hardyville. US 278 widening Argent to I-95, that's just preliminary engineering, and again, Jasper County. So we were gonna get to 4, which Jared already talked about, the Triangle Project. Depending, this one could fluctuate the way it looks in the tip, depending on if Jasper County decides to go fully local and only pay with local dollars. We can rename the project and then push the Beaufort County piece out to 2027-ish. And that way it has a placeholder in our tip, and we don't have to go through the whole process again, and it'll still be in what we call the STIP, which is all these tips fold into the state's project list. So that's, we're still kind of waiting to figure out the final decision on Jasper County side. We have funding to do a planning project for a multi-use path all along South SC 170, and that would be the part of the East Coast Greenway. We have 2 bridge studies, or I'm going to read them out of order. We have Ladies Island's bridge study. There's been a call at different times to look at a 3rd bridge option, and as well as a Hilton Head Island 2nd bridge option. Both of those are planned out in 2026, and then Hilton Head 2027. I think we need to figure out what we were doing with this first bridge before we started studying a second one and confusing matters. So we have a couple intersection projects that we're also doing, US 21, SC 802. Oh, I'm sorry, that's mainline improvements, excuse me. That's Ladies Island. Rebo Road improvements, this one is one that we have, it's actually in, I think, FY 2025, we're pushing it out a little further to 2027, again, because the penny tax didn't pass. So I want to keep it as a placeholder in the tip, but we don't have that funding source to do the next step, as Jared had mentioned. Then we do have 9 and 10 are 2 intersection projects that will be fully funded within the federal dollars that LATS has afforded to it. So there's one on US 21, Paris Island Gateway and Robert Smalls, and then US 21 and SC 128, which is Savannah Highway. So both of those should be going this year, and we'll be working with the DOT program office to get those going. Bluffton Parkway 5B has preliminary engineering noted in here. And then there's 2 projects on Hilton Head that are a bit further out in 2028 and 2030 to do some work on the Cross Island Parkway and Gumtree. Next slide, please. So the tip also includes other, yeah.
I was wondering, what the heck is that project number 6, Ladies Island Bridge study?
Number 6.
What are they studying?
That is to look at a possible 3rd bridge, what that would look like. It would just be a feasibility study or planning level study. We wouldn't actually be designing or anything along those lines. I think there's been some work done in the past. Yeah.
Correct.
This is getting the nods over there. Yeah, it would just be updating that look. It comes up periodically. There's always some desire to fix that congestion issue up there.
They're not doing anything to Wood Memorial, huh?
No.
No, it would be a different bridge.
Stephanie,
Mhm.
the 5B,
Yeah.
not popular in Boston.
No, not.
So you have 1.2 million, is, who's committing that and when is it says design, is it underway?
No, so we're currently actually doing, I was gonna get to that next, we're doing a corridor study right now on Bluffton Parkway, the entire extent of Bluffton Parkway, not just looking at 5B. And that will help, I think, give some direction or some information to the town of Bluffton for them to make a decision on how they wanna move forward, but this would really be, based on the county not wanting to support 5B, this would be a Bluffton project.
Primarily, to give you kind of a picture how this gets put together. LATS has a technical committee, which I sit on the technical committee, and it's comprised of planners from the various municipalities and county, and they are the ones that are behind the scenes communicating with the municipalities. But the people that make the decisions are the elected officials. They're the ones that say, yes, this is what we're going to do, no, this is what we're not going to do. So it's really, the technical committee provides the data, the background data, and Stephanie's a merchant in there that pulls all this together and polishes it up and presents it to the elected officials. And they make the decision as to what goes on the tip and everything else.
But the source of the funds, so that Bluffton would pay 1.2 million, is that?
No, I'm sorry, so LATS did approve $1.2 million. They would have to pay local match on that to do design and preliminary engineering. Any phase after that would be up to the town of Bluffton to either come back to LATS and ask for money, but we don't get those kind of dollars necessarily to fund a road that large, that project that large. Or they would have to come up with the funding themselves, and then they also have another hurdle to get over, which is they would have to manage the project if the county isn't gonna manage it, and it's not a DOT road. So it would be a fully local, be managed, and they'd have to go through a process for that.
But if that's not there now, you would still spend $1.2 million to design something that may not be built?
It's not a design, it's a study.
Okay.
That's the difference in this. And all's being done is they're looking at the issues that we're gonna face by 2045.
Well, that's the corridor study, yeah.
That's
I'm familiar with
exactly,
that. Okay.
that's exactly the intent of it. There's no design being put in place of a road or anything else.
Thank you.
The next slide. The TIP also includes different categories of projects. So the several of SCDOT's projects, I did not itemize them all, but the interstate program, this is where you would find I-95 widening. All their bridge projects would be identified in our TIP, safety program projects, as well as paving. Paving is identified as a lump sum and not by roadway. All federal transit funding is identified. We also, we hope, are still getting the carbon reduction program funds. And then any locally funded project of regional significance that we feel should be in the TIP has been identified as well. And that is, there's no federal dollars attached to those, but they may want to go after federal dollars. So being in a federal document may give them a little boost.
We've had interest, and that was at our workshop last month. If you recall, whenever we had pavement technology in, we talked about the carbon reduction titanium that they have, and we talked about using the titanium dioxide and selecting roads throughout the county when the funds become available. And as a recollection, it's about $1.25 a square yard for reclamite, and it's about $2.45, $2.50 for the titanium. So we're hoping to get some of the funds from LATS to do some of this.
Currently, through the carbon reduction, we've sent off to the folks at DOT. They're running this program to fund several retiming of signals on various corridors throughout City of Beaufort, Beaufort County, and Hilton Head. And then that was just the first 2 years. It's a 5-year program if the program continues on. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. And then the next two slides are a list of the 8 corridor projects that we currently have ongoing or are in various stages. We are doing a project on SC 315, SC 46, as well as we are looking at the what it would look like if there was an extension of the Bluffton Parkway. This is a study that's, we're gonna have our next public meeting is going to be on April 9th, and we're planning on wrapping this up and having a presentation to the LATS Policy Committee on June 6th. So this one is nearing the finish line. It's been a very long project. The next one, Bluffton Parkway Study, which we just mentioned, this is in the entire length of the existing corridor. This project kicked off back in August. We just had a public meeting last month that was well-attended, as you'd imagine. The final report would be completed in June, and I'm gonna have my 2 consultants fight out who wants to present in June. They're gonna be ready to present in June, but we might push this one to August just so we're not all overwhelmed with a bunch of diagrams and engineering speak for an hour long. The Safety Action Plan, this was a discretionary grant that was awarded to LCOG, and we completed that back in October, and that looked at the 4-county region, identified safety issues, and it's called, the program it came from is called Safe Streets for All, and once you have a safety action plan in place, you can then apply for future installments of that grant program. There's at least one left that we're hoping should be out any day now. It was slated as coming out this spring. Regional ITS plan, this is funded by LATS but managed by Beaufort County, and that is just kicking off. And I see that based on a lot of flurry of emails I'm getting, we're doing some background data collection, and that will be moving along shortly. US 278 study, I'm sorry, let me spell Intelligent Transportation Systems if you weren't already, I skipped over that. The US 278 study is from I-95 to the Sea Pine Circle, so that's the entire extent of that, and that corridor study would be, again, funded by LATS, managed by Beaufort County, and it is gonna take in all the other studies that may have been done along that corridor, because there's been other studies, and then kind of pull all that information together. That is also just getting kicked off. SC 170, again, another full corridor from Boundary Street here in Beaufort all the way to the traffic circle in Bluffton, again being funded by LATS and managed by Beaufort County, and that is also just being kicked off. The Northern Beaufort Transit Study, we just actually had a stakeholder meeting, which I rushed over from that meeting to this one a few minutes, not too long ago. That is focusing on just the transit needs for the north of the Broad. We already have a study that was for south of the Broad once that became an urbanized area, but now City of Beaufort and Port Royal is also an urbanized area, and this will help tap into those federal transit dollars that will become available to this area. And then the last one on here is the Transportation Resilience Improvement Plan. This again was a discretionary grant that LCOG was awarded through the PROTECT program from USDOT. I'm currently still negotiating with the consulting team, but we should be kicking off soon. And this would be looking at the vulnerability of our road system, areas that maybe have high potential for flooding or affected by heat and other natural hazards that could be affecting our roadway system.
Excellent job. Questions?
I see here that this Northern Beaufort Transit Study and Beaufort County, Port Royal, and the City of Beaufort. What about the surrounding area? You guys not mentioning it?
Beaufort County, unincorporated Beaufort County, the city, and the town. So it's St. Helena, all the way out to Fripp, all the way up to, yeah. It's
thank you.
everything north of the Broad.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Great job, Stephanie. Appreciate you coming in. Next item is our treasurer's report. Jim?
Okay, Rusty covered several of the items, but this is just a refresher that back at our January meeting is when we approved Year 8 Rejuvenator project, and that PO has been issued. At our February retreat, we approved 278 resurfacing, Bluffton Parkway resurfacing, and Year 8 resurfacing, and those are all now, as Rusty mentioned, getting kicked off through trying to get POs issued, contracts in place. In terms of where we are for this year, through January, we've received about $6.8 million. Majority, excuse me, majority of that was through the one-time funding from the legislature of about $4.6 million, and through January, recurring funds amounted to about $1.5 million. For the full year, we're projecting total revenue of about $8 million, spending approximately $5.8 million, which would give us a end of the year balance of about $7.8 million going into the next fiscal year. That's really all I had as far as an update of where we stand with the snapshot.
Well, I was going to turn and give you a piece of paper and say thank you, and I made the decision to simply say, Jim is taking on another role, but he's staying on our committee, but he's taking on another role in his community. And because of that, he's asked if he could, this would be his last meeting as treasurer. And so I told him, no, that can't happen, he has to stay on as treasurer. Well, it is as it was put in our transportation plan, the chairman has the opportunity to appoint the treasurer. And I've asked David Johnson if he would be our treasurer for the future, which he has accepted, and we'll be working with Chris and Jim doing the transition. But I speak to you from the membership and those that have been here. You've been one of the, almost the former members of this committee, and we can't thank you enough for all the hard work you've put in for us through the years.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity. I've learned a lot.
This takes us up to public comment. Is anybody here to speak again about our agenda items? Not seeing any. The chairman has some comments to make tonight. And I only have 3 minutes left. I try to get us out of here by 5, but there's a couple things that I would like to have some help with. Again, I'll go back to the transportation plan, and 4 years ago, the committee made the decision, there are things that happen between our meeting dates. If a financial item comes up and it's $25,000 or less, it becomes the decision of the chairman, the vice chairman, and the treasurer to vote on it, and they have the approval on it, and we bring it to the next meeting for discussion. But the idea is you've given us the authority to spend money. In this case, we paved a road on Hilton Head called Sand Dollar 2 years ago. And Sand Dollar, turns out that the town of Hilton Head has come to us and asked for us to stripe it. And it was not done in the original contract. The cost was only $4,700 to do it. I went to the treasurer and the vice chairman, of which it all approved. I would like to have the committee's vote and approval of that expenditure. So I would ask for a motion for such approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in please favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, as some of you may be aware, may not be aware, the place where we're currently sitting is going to go under a major renovation starting within 30 days, something like that.
April 14th, they're saying we're gonna be not available.
So we're going to be locked out of a meeting place. Chris and I have talked about it, and she was working on your Benton Hall? Burton Wells is where we're going to try to go to and hold our meeting in the future for, and we've discussed a number of different venues. One of the things that has to happen, has to be tied into it, is TV access. And so them making recordings of the meetings, they're able to do it at Burton Wells. So we'll keep you posted. You'll be getting the location for our next meeting in advance.
Where's Burton Hall?
Burton Wells Rec Center.
It's in Burton, down by County Shed Road, like up in that area. That's where all the sports complex and everything's at. Yeah. Off of Joe Frazier? You can come off of Joe Frazier?
We'll get you there. We'll give you directions.
I got you, thank you.
We'll take care of you. One of the things which I kind of stumbled across this week, and all with good intent, and the good intent was recognizing the committee members and your efforts you put in coming to the meetings and everything else. And so I started with Jared and asked him about the possibility of having, if it would be appropriate with the council, would they have any objections, if we were able to purchase shirts for members of the committee. And it would have Beaufort County logo on it and have Transportation Committee on it. And Jared was very wise when he said, you might want to talk to the clerk of council, see if you might be able to get some funds there. Well, lo and behold, the clerk of council says, yep, we're trying to get everybody dressed a little better coming to the meetings because they're representing the community as a large. And so it would be a nice item if you would want to do that. And I said, yeah, I think we'd like to do that. So what has started off, I got a phone call this morning approving us to receive shirts. The shirts will be black Oxford cloth shirts with Beaufort County logo on it, and it'll have transportation on the top and committee underneath. So I simply ask for all of you before you walk out of here today, and Jenny, you're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna work with you. We'll get you a woman's shirt. But before you walk out of here, please see Chris and get the size worked out with her so that we'll have new shirts for you at the next meeting. So that's kind of what the update for me is today. I don't see any other comments to come before this committee, so the meeting's adjourned.